Since we're about to get a whole bunch of reinforcements from our ODST friends on Xbox, we're going to take a look at how to beat super helldive missions using just the basic starter gear, our fundamental knowledge of liberating, and the power of teamwork. Can we strafe around that guy? Yeah, no, that was some sick.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, that was beautiful. My name is Commissar Kai, and today I'm going to show you how to beat each faction on the hardest difficulty using just the starter equipment and one friend, so you can be well prepared to cleanse the galaxy of tyrannical filth. For any new recruits, I don't want y'all to feel pressured to immediately hit the hardest difficulties. You should enjoy spread and manage democracy, so play on difficulties where you can savor the blood of your enemies coating your drip. But as your Commissar, it is my duty to democracy to inspire confidence in the troops, and I intend to do that by showing you that Command gave you everything you need in your standard issue kit. So let's go over it. When you first start your helldiving career, you're only granted access to the basic Liberator, Peacemaker sidearm, and the G12 high explosive grenades for your equipment, and the Orbital Precision Strike and the MG43 for your stratagems until you up your citizenship score. But after completing a mission or two, you can afford to purchase the MG Sentry, aka Matilda, and the Eagle Strafing Run. Since this is what's available to you at level 1, it's what we'll be using for today. The AR-23 Liberator is the standard issue primary weapon to helldivers across the galaxy, and it's a real workhorse of democracy. It has light armor penetrating ammo dealing 80 damage, comes with 45 rounds in a mag, and it has 9 magazines in total. It's also incredibly accurate, making it an effective weapon for blasted enemies in their weak points. Just don't get confused by the word primary in primary weapon. This is not the tool you'll use to chew through armored hordes or to bring down big targets. Primary weapons in this game are more of a standard weapon for you to use when your big guns are out of ammo or good targets, and your stratagems are on cooldown. Your starting sidearm, the Peacemaker, is a pea shooter, but in a pinch it works slightly better than harsh language. If you're out of options or you just need to put a hole in the head of a communist before reloading your more effective weapons, it'll do the job. The standard issue G12 high-X grenades do a whopping 800 damage with heavy armor penetration, meaning these are going to be extremely useful for taking out armored targets when you're just getting started. You'll also be suiting up in the BO1 tactical armor. This standard issue body armor has no fancy passives that you have to track, it just makes you more durable. But it does provide a slight aura boost for being such an iconic set of armor. Your first support weapon is the MG43 machine gun. This weapon can be set to different rates of fire depending on if you actually want to land your shots or you want to say Liberty take the wheel. But it is your only access to medium armor penetrating rounds, so we'll rely on it to do most of the heavy lifting. The Eagle Strafing Run and Orbital Precision Strike are going to be our answers for heavy armor, since both of these stratagems can punch through even the hardest of targets. Finally, we have Matilda. She's basically your MG43 strapped to a freedom bot and fueled by pure hatred. We'll be using her to help clear the field, to distract enemies, and occasionally drop on the head of a charger. With just a little bit of knowledge of enemy weak points, a dash of teamwork, and a generous portion of effective tactics, these weapons are all that you'll need to take on even the toughest challenges the Helldiver experience has to offer. But if you want a detailed breakdown of each faction's enemies and their weak points, check out my Like an Expert series. Alright, you've kitted up and gotten to know your implements of democracy, so let's get to the most deadly tool in a Helldiver's kit. Teamwork. We'll start with the bugs before moving on to the bots and the squids. Let me introduce Ren.
This is probably the first time in an actual year. Stop!
He's a buddy of mine that is just the right amount of unstable to be a proper Helldiver.
Where's the resupply?
So he'll be my duo partner for these missions. He don't have a lot of experience working as part of a team, so consider him your stand-in for learning the most effective tactics for cleansing the galaxy of the undemocratic. There are 4 major threats we'll face when putting down the socialist animals: dealing with the bugs' heavy armor, handling massive swarms, getting sandwiched, and clearing objectives. Impalers will try to bad dragon the liberty out of your body, but they can easily be handled by using the old reliable, shoot them in the face. So even though they are a massive threat, I'm not putting them on the list. Bile Titans and their hulls are huge threats when you don't have the proper equipment to put them down quickly, since they will spawn a parade of nightmares that can quickly overwhelm your ability to fight back. Since the only way Ren and I could take one down is with our orbital precision strikes or strafing runs, we had to abuse one simple fact: our enemies are stupid.
Right off the bat, a Bile Titan thingy. So here's what I think we do. I want you to draw them out over here, and I will go around the side and close that hole with a precision strike.
Once the Bile Titan Mart is closed for business, we can focus down the remaining ones before disengaging. The easiest way to kill a Titan is with the orbital precision strike, since a direct hit will down them in one go. But even a near miss will still put them low enough that you can finish them off by shooting them in the sacks. You can ensure a hit by baiting the Titan to barf on you before throwing it right below their head. They'll finish sharing their lunch before walking right into the path of democracy's boot. Strafing runs can kill them in one hit, but this seems to largely be down to luck. If enough shots from the strafing run hit them in the face, it'll pop their head like a disgusting piñata. But Eagle 1 will usually open up gaps in their armor and get them low enough that you can finish them off with your other weapons. Chargers are essentially the tanks of the bug front. They hit very hard and can run faster than you, even in light armor. But despite being the size of a lifted pavement princess, they still have the brains of a super cow. If you're able to juke their charge and break line of sight with them, they'll usually wander aimlessly until they get bored and crawl back into the ground. But if one of these fat sacks of meat is blocking your access to an objective or has decided to chase you into the sunset, you still have a couple of ways to deal with them. The orbital precision strike and eagle strafing runs can both put one down or weaken them enough that you can finish them off with small arms fire. You can also pop their butt and let them bleed out using your grenades, but this is a little harder to pull off since you need to bait them into head bonking something before chucking 2 G12s underneath them. But the most fun way to handle them is with Matilda. Throw your stratagem ball right here between their head and their back and it will stick in place, giving them a countdown timer before being turned into freedom burgers. This takes a little practice, but once you get it down, it's a very reliable method for converting chargers into a distraction for democracy. And since Matilda has such a short cooldown, you can do this consistently throughout a match. Speaking of covering fire and distractions, let's talk about how to handle massive swarms. Bug breaches are what happens when the bugs call for help, but they're not random. There is a hidden timer which dictates how long a bug breach can last and the time you have between one breach and the next. This is dependent on where you are on the map when it happens. Breaches in the middle of nowhere last the least amount of time and spawn the least enemies, while breaches near primary objectives and super bases last the longest. Claystetics has a great video on the topic, so check him out if you'd like to know more details. But basically, the first step to handling swarms is knowing how to respond to a breach. If it's not near a major objective, you can stand and fight it, even with basic gear. Ren and I were able to do this very effectively by forcing the bug breach to crawl up a hill before laying into them with alternating machine gun fire.
Let me know when you need to reload.
Gotta reload.
Okay, swapping to my machine gun.
Okay, let me know when you need to reload.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch back to my Liberator so we're not firing machine guns at the same time.
That was kind of textbook right there.
This is real similar to a real-world military tactic called talking guns. But instead of having both of our MGs alternating fire to conserve ammo, we would have one person firing their MG while the other used their Liberator. When the machine gunner needed to reload, the helldiver using the Liberator would swap to their MG and cover them. This let us keep up continuous fire on the enemy without giving too much ground, and is one of the best ways to handle a bug breach if you need to fight it. But sometimes fighting your way through a breach isn't possible, especially with starter gear. In these cases, it pays to know how to use distractions. All of the enemies of humanity seem to have a burning hatred for our superior technology, meaning they will prioritize sentries over helldivers most of the time.
Yeah, see, they should all go for that sentry, because sentries have a higher priority than helldivers do.
Yeah.
So, like that bug breach.
They have.
Yeah, as long as we're not visible to the bugs, they should just despawn after they kill it.
So if you don't have the time or the patience to fight through a bug breach, you can always toss Matilda somewhere the bugs can't easily reach before booking it in another direction. Getting sandwiched is usually a death sentence against the bugs. When you're surrounded by fascism, you'll eventually get bitten on the ass, or have a charger truck coon you out of existence. The way you avoid this is real simple. Pick a direction and run. Throwing out a sentry can help keep the bugs' attention, but the important part is to regroup as a team and force the swarm to come at you from one direction. Once all the bugs are lined up, you can hit them with strafing runs and alternate machine guns until the field is clear enough for you to work. The final lesson we can learn from our Xbox loadout on bugs is how to deal with objectives. Primary objectives will always have what are called static enemies. These are bugs that spawn in at an objective when you start the mission. They are not part of patrols or bug breaches, so once you clear them out, they'll stay dead even if you run off to do something else.
Okay, so the plan is we're going to take this stupid thing do the final primary, clear out the final primary, and then we'll go to the other part of the objective.
The problem is if you try and fight your way through all the bugs on an objective, the chances are pretty high that they'll spawn a breach and force you off of it. So instead of brute forcing our way through the swarm, you'll want to do this.
Yeah, so we want to get all these dudes that are in there to follow us, and then they'll come out of here, and then once they're out of here, they'll despawn.
Once you've baited the static enemies away from the objective, most of them will despawn or die in your fighting retreat, meaning you can easily lose the bug breach using the tactics I just taught you and circle back to complete your mission. Mega nests are a little trickier to handle, but the same principles apply. The only difference is mega nests are covered in spawners, so baiting them away doesn't work as well. Instead, you'll want to hit these from multiple angles at different timings.
This is a pretty open one, but you see the Bile Titan hole? We need to deal with that. How about you cut around that side, go throw orbital precision there, and I'll start working on these other ones. Yep. And when you do, when you get over towards the Bile Titan hole, call in the resupply, because we'll need it.
Since I started the party, most of the super base gets aggroed onto me, enabling Ren to close the Bile Titan hole in an act of pure heroism.
Oh, and you!
Oh no.
That's a kill though, that's a kill. I got the Bile Titan hole.
But even when you're using these tactics, mega nests are still difficult to handle, since even baiting a bug breach further out doesn't usually give you enough time to clear out the base. So you will need to dip in and out of the base, closing what holes you can, until eventually you get them all. Just don't get stuck in fighting for too long, or it's easy to get overwhelmed by the super breaches. The last thing I'll mention for this front is that sometimes it's a good idea to split up, even when using basic gear.
But I think we need to head back. We got 5 minutes.
I'm gonna go throw an eagle at it.
Okay, I'll meet you at the primary.
If the clock is running down and you have multiple objectives still to handle, dividing your forces can ensure you hit every side objective, bug nest, and primary before emergency extraction gets called. This is true for the other fronts as well, but be warned, it can go very badly if helldivers start dropping.
Hold on, we're separated. We're like mom and dad right now.
So stick together when you can, and split up only when it's convenient. Alright, now on to my favorite faction, the Clankers. Dismantling this faction has a special place in my heart because I love tearing through metal and being drenched in oil. But they're also, in my humble opinion, the best designed faction. Nearly every enemy, I'm looking at you, War Strider, damn it, has well-defined weak points and can be handled using our basic equipment. War Striders are the only exception since they have no exploitable weak points for medium pin weapons, meaning they are the only enemy in the game that requires heavy weaponry to down one. If you're running the Xbox loadout, you can still kill them with strafing runs, orbital precision strikes, or spamming enough grenades, but their lack of weak points means you do need some kind of big boom to deal with them. That said, they didn't come up in this mission, so I'll leave dealing with them for a future video. I am so tired of seeing helldivers swear on democracy that you have to bring anti-tank in order to be effective against this faction, because hulks, tanks, and factory striders give them nightmares. So let's talk about these enemies in particular before getting into the tactics. The front of hulks is covered in heavy armor, but somehow most helldivers have missed that nearly half of their body is a weak point in addition to their glowing red eye. These vents are massive, they glow, have zero armor, and are fatal when destroyed. But it seems after helldivers unlock the recoilless rifle, they forget that this weak point exists.
Can we get this Hulk?
On my position.
I only have a primary.
That's all you need. Thank you.
Okay. Did that kill it?
Yep. You get him?
Working on it.
Nice.
Oh, that doesn't take too many shots.
No, it's actually pretty easy. That's how you're supposed to kill Hulks.
Now for tanks and cannon towers, you handle these by using the same principle. Each has a giant glowing heatsink on the back of their main armament that is vulnerable to the medium penetration of your machine gun. So keep some distance between you and your buddy, and whichever of you isn't being targeted now has the job of shooting that vent. Factory striders take the most effort to bring down, but there is an easy method for removing them from a fight. Their chin guns are deadly at short range, while their cannon can paste you in one hit from long range. If you need to take one on, start by moving in close and removing those chin guns. Once they're out of the equation, you can hit the cannon on their back with your stratagems to remove them as a threat, or lay into their belly doors to old Yeller these communist dogs. Now that you know how to deal with the bot's heavy armor, let's tackle how to handle bot drops, attack different positions, and avoid detection. Bot drops are much easier to handle compared to bug breaches due to their vulnerability to an ancient commissar technique. Advancing towards future victories, aka run away. When a bot oils themselves out of fear, they will pop a flare to signal their reinforcements. This flare is usually visible from anywhere on the map since it glows bright red and shoots straight up into the sky. Once you see this flare, you can advance in the opposite direction and usually lose them before they have a chance to even shoot at you.
It's right there, the ping.
That should do it. That should do it.
Let's see. Yep, alright, cool. Move east. Got cannon towered. Throw me towards the gun.
Manipulating bot drops like this is key to success on the bot front early on, and can be used to great effect. Once you bait out a drop, move towards a different objective and take out all the static enemies. The bot drop will be left in the dust, and the cooldown for another bot drop won't be available, meaning you can easily clear out whatever objective you set your eye on. If you have to fight, find a good piece of cover and try to get the bots to line up. This will make them vulnerable to your strafing runs and orbital precision strikes, but most of the time a machine gun sentry and bipedal locomotion is enough to get you out of the danger zone. When it comes to attacking a position, sometimes you just have to weather a bot drop, but the key to doing this well is to penetrate deep into the objective before the drop can be called.
Yeah, hit them hard. This is kind of a blitzkrieg type moment. Okay, the Hulks are dead. Let's go in.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
Well, that was not how I wanted to go in, but that works.
Hit the static enemies with every piece of heavy ordnance you have before pushing onto the objective, blowing up any communist machines you can find, and leave using your machine gun sentry as a distraction. The same applies if you see a group of Hulks chilling in a path that you need to take.
Oh, there's a bunch of Hulks.
Okay, what do we do?
Precision strike them.
Yeah, we gotta move up there quickly.
Yep.
Swift and overwhelming violence is the answer to the vast majority of situations on the bot front, so practice and use it well. Another reason the bots are one of my favorite factions to fight is that they are very vulnerable to stealth tactics. Sometimes it's beneficial to act more as a saboteur than a frontline soldier.
Oh, there's a dog. Okay, we need to be careful. Let's crouch. Let's get close. Stealth mode activated. We're going between two factory striders.
Because bots are primarily a ranged faction, using stealth tactics against them is extremely effective. If a patrol spots you, you can usually break line of sight and create enough distance to avoid aggroing additional patrols. Crouching and going prone drastically reduces the range at which bots can detect you, and you can usually lose them before they recognize you as a threat. If you want to know more about how stealth tactics work, check out either of these videos. I really enjoy this playstyle, but there's just too much to cover to cram into this video. The last thing we'll cover against bots is their suppression mechanic. Clankers can be pretty accurate if left to their own devices, but because communism has rotted the nuts and bolts that they call brains, they implemented a suppression protocol for most of their basic units. What this means is that when you shoot at the bots, even if you're not hitting them, their aim will get noticeably worse. Meaning if your buddy is getting shot to pieces by a bunch of heavy devastators, you can help them out by just raining lead in the bot's general direction. So once you start taking fire, be sure to lay on the trigger before moving to a better position. For our final game, Ren and I dropped in on the squids. Taking on future fried calamari means using all the tactics we've talked about so far, since they are basically a blend of the other two factions. You'll use cover and overwhelming force the same way you would against the bots.
You remember what I told you about static enemies? Still applies here.
Yep.
So let's waste these dudes. You get the left, I'll get the right.
Okay.
And you'll want to kite out their hordes, alternating fire with your teammates like you did against the bugs.
I'm reloading right here.
Okay, I'm watching you.
Thankfully, our starter gear contains some of the best weapons against this faction. That said, the squid front does come with a few unique challenges that you'll need to overcome, so let's talk about them. The first is dealing with their spawners. Usually these require you to either slap a thermite grenade on the side or bust through their shields before hucking a grenade in the door. But the orbital precision strike can also handle them nicely. Just toss one beneath the clamshell and that orbital payload will crack it. Squid outposts, to my knowledge, can have at most 3 spawners within a single base. So 2 helldivers can take one one out quickly using 2 orbital precision strikes and 1 grenade in the door. Whichever method you choose, just be sure to take these bases down quickly, because once they're alerted to your presence, they start crapping out a ton of overseers and boatless. Next we have stingrays. These fast movers are only vulnerable to attack when they're doing their strafing run, and they're covered in medium armor. So the only answer we have for them is the MG43. When you hear one going for an attack, call it out and focus them down with your squad mate.
Here comes Stingray. 2 of them. Got one.
I got one.
You got
we got them together.
Voteless are the main unit you'll be fighting when dropping into a squid mission. Individually, they're harmless, but they are a constant source of pressure that needs to be respected if you don't want to get overwhelmed. You'll want to make good use of your Liberator, Peacemaker, and MG43 to stem the tide of former voters. Thankfully, they do have an extra weakness.
Here, come to me. I had the perfect escape.
Yep.
Parkour!
The Illuminate's weakness, rails.
Most squid units aren't very agile, so using your superior human physique, you can usually break contact with groups by climbing over terrain and banking around corners. Flesh mobs are very distracting, but they're basically a bullet sponge, so just shoot them until they're dead. Aside from handling these unique threats, the main thing the Squid Front will teach you is situational awareness. The Illuminate have a mechanic that is completely unique to them, and it is how they call for reinforcements. Unlike bugs or bots where a variety of enemy types can send out an SOS, the squids rely solely on watchers for their reinforcements. This means that you will constantly need to keep your head on a swivel looking for these narcs. They'll float around the battlefield, and if they see or hear you, they'll start chasing after you until eventually sending up a signal flare for reinforcements. So not only do you have to watch out for patrols creeping up on your 6, you'll need to keep your eyes on the sky to avoid getting tattled on. Each enemy faction has unique lessons to teach you that really only come into focus when you nerf yourself and start using the starter gear. Bugs make you keep your cool and respond quickly to waves of enemies in heavy armor trying to step on you. Bots teach you to abuse weak points, use stealth, and respond quickly to threats with overwhelming force. And squids really hone your situational awareness. But these lessons can only truly be learned when you're forced to use all of your tools to their maximum effect. But I'll leave you with this. To our future Xbox cadets, use your time as a noob to develop good fundamentals and solidify your camaraderie with your fellow helldivers. Being a helldiver is about embracing the ideals of managed democracy by working together, both on the battlefield and in the larger galactic war. But until next time, this is Commissar Kai, signing out.
Oh my god.
You got 12 seconds. I see you. You can do it. Don't get stepped on. Get in there, Red.
I'm here!
Get in there.
Oh.